state of the U.S. banking system has been coming apart at the seams. Not since the stock market crash of 1929 has there been such uncertainty and fragility in the markets. Back then, as today, the government has been forced to react. Sweeping changes in the market structure came about when, in 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt led Congress to pass the Glass Steagall Act in 1934, which mandated the division of the financial industry into three discrete sectors: investment banking, commercial banking, and insurance. In addition, he called for the creation of the SEC through the Securities Exchange Act in 1934. Today, many blame disruptions in the market on the adaptation of new technologies. If only it was that simple. The events leading up to the current financial conditions of the market will confound even the most informed. In an industry with very little left to chance, it's hard to believe that many of the market factors weren't already foreseen, and in some cases even orchestrated. It took 3 years after the crash of 1929 for the U.S. economy to fall into the Great Depression. The impact was felt globally. Volumes have been written as to the events and factors leading to the crash of '29, but one thing that most historians agree upon is that the financial system was over-leveraged, creating a stock market bubble, which historically are characteristic of many crises. But today, things may seem even worse. Huge deficits, an excessive credit boom, increases in direct investment by foreign interests, all combined with policy paralysis at the federal level. In 1999, a Republican Congress passed the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, repealing Glass Steagall. After 70 years, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act liberalized the U.S. banking system and ushered in an unprecedented change in the financial world. Then, in 2001, the Bush administration established a philosophy of less regulation and limited enforcement for the financial sector. In a post-9/11 era, with a down stock market and stagnant economic growth, the Bush administration promoted consumerism to provide a needed stimulus to the economy. At the same time, monetary policy supported such consumption by flooding the market with cheap money, driving federal interest rates down to 1.1% in 2003. With cheap money in the system and a mandate by the president to make America the ownership society, Wall Street was well poised to embark on new funding schemes for mortgage finance, setting the stage for a market bubble. In 2005, after 7 failed attempts and 3 years of lobbying by financial institutions such as Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, and Bear Stearns, a Republican Congress passed the Bankruptcy, Abuse Prevention, and Consumer Protection Act. The act provided creditors with greater control over mortgage assets, undoing many of the established consumer protections and promoting a creditor-friendly foreclosure process. Easing of regulatory enforcement continued to spread. Under the SEC Chairman, Secretary Cox, penalties levied by the SEC dropped from $1.5 billion in 2005 to $507 million in 2007. Meanwhile, the housing bubble continued to inflate and peaked by 2006. Wall Street profits were at a record high. Financial institutions continued to push the limits of financial engineering with riskier credit derivative products and structured investment vehicles. Leverage was the name of the game, and in some brokerage houses it exceeded 40-1. Market participants fell in line to make money. From developers to realtors, appraisers to underwriters, loan originators to servicers, investment bankers to investors, all were making money off the bubble. At the same time the bubble was inflating, deficit spending by the federal government was accelerating, triggering decline in value of the dollar, resulting in a sell-off of American assets to foreign interests. After 7 years of George Bush and 6 years of a Republican Congress with failing economic and regulatory policies, we are being handed private sector bailouts exceeding $1 trillion. Americans are also facing crashing home values, rising prices, and dwindling investments in a time when Wall Street bonuses and executive compensations are at record levels. Never before in the history of this country have so many paid so much for so few. So what does this mean to you and me? The current Republican administration is asking the American people to bail out private sector at a price tag of over $1 trillion. With federal deficits reaching $4.3 trillion, that translates into over $14,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. Since 2000, this administration has cost the average family of four over $56,000 to cover their failed policies. November 4th, 2008, you have a decision. Vote Democratic.